check out the EVGA Hadron Air. Now the problem with all the ITX cases out there in the world is they're either too small for a nice large PSU and graphics card, or they're a little bit just too big. You know, like the Prodigy, I love the Prodigy, but it's so big that it may as well be a Maddox case. And in fact, they've got a micro ATX case coming out for the Prodigy soon because it was so freaking big. This one, they've integrated a power supply. It's a 500 watt gold rated 80 plus certified power supply. So adding in their own power supply allows them to, sort of customize the form factor. It's a very slim power supply that goes in the bottom, and we don't have to worry about having a big bulky power supply. Now I know a lot of you guys out there are thinking like, well, 500 watts is not enough to run like a 780 or a Titan or whatever. Well, yeah, it really is enough to run a 780. A 780 requires, on the back of the box, it says like a 550, and you need 42 amps on the 12 volt rail. This one's 500 watts, and it gives you 40 amps on the 12 volt rail. Now with most modern systems, as long as you're not running, a million mechanical hard drives, that's a lot of millions, kind of an exaggeration, but as long as you're not running a ton of mechanical hard drives, you don't really have room for them in here either anyway. And as long as you're, running Haswell or something like that, you're going to be just fine. Probably wouldn't recommend doing like an extreme overclock with this and a 780 or a Titan or a 7970, but you can use them in here. I'm saying you can use them 99% of the time. It'll be just fine. And EVGA knows it'll be just fine because they've got a bundle on their website where you can get a 4770K. You can get this case, of course, with the 500 watt power supply, a GTX 780, some Beast RAM, and a Kingston HyperX 3K SSD. So pretty rocking and rolling. I said rocking and rolling. I must be out of touch with culture to be saying things like that. All right, let's look at the front. The front's sleek, mirrored, not much to it at all, just an EVGA logo and a button. On the side, we got a spot where you can mount an internal slot loading CD, DVD, ROM drive, Blu-ray, whatever. And then below that, we've got headphone, microphone, and 2 USB ports. And then there's a honeycomb design vent on the side to pull in some air. I also want to note that this thing is elevated a bit so that the power supply on the bottom can suck in air. You can slide stuff underneath the case. The front has a bit of an angle, just a slight angle, just a few degrees, but it's enough to allow some air to get under the case and inside the case. Let's go ahead and take off the side panel. The side panel is a giant window so you can look inside. And with 3 thumb screws, you just pull off those 3 thumb screws and you guys can open it up and take a look on the inside. First thing you notice, we have a large snake of cables. It's going to allow you to hook up just about everything you need. Then we have 2 120 millimeter fans that are mounted up in the top. If you ever need access to those to swap them out or, repair them or something like that, they're pretty quiet fans, so I wouldn't recommend taking them out. But if you really need to take them out, there's 2 screws here on the back. You just unplug those screws or unscrew those screws. This slides off, and then you can get to the screws that are holding those fans in place. We do have 2 hard drive bays, and they're toolless. You just move them out. Toolless for 3.5-inch drives. If you need to do SSDs, you'll want to pull the tray out and mount the SSD there. Also in the box, they've included a tray so you can mount your slot loading DVD, CD-ROM drive. Now the motherboard installs just flat in here. You're not going to be using any crazy water cooling with this system. If you do want water cooling, there is you can get the EVGA Hadron Hydro. So you guys can get that one. It's a little bit taller, but there's a reservoir up on top. And if you wanted to do external water cooling, you can do that. So internally, there's not a lot of room for that, but we do have some grommets here in the back, and you can run the tubes to an external unit, attach it, maybe even pull off the top. And if you wanted to mod this thing, you probably could. I would prefer keeping it small, but that's me. Everyone really wants to know exactly how big it is, so I'll tell you exactly how big it is in inches. Width, height, and depth, 6.6 by 12 by 12.1. The weight is 13.22 pounds. Let's get metric. Width, 169 millimeters. Height, 305 millimeters. Depth, 308 millimeters. And it weighs 6 kilograms. So as you can see, it's quite small, a lot smaller than the Prodigy. It's similar form factor in the sense that it's, a small rectangle with curved edges. Doesn't have the handles on top. My gripes would be I would love to see some sort of a handle on here. It may ruin the sleek aesthetic, and this thing is so small that it's easy to pick up anyway. But some way to mount a handle, even if it was just a little lip on the back that lifted up so you could grab it from the back, I would love to see that. If I was doing a mod, I would probably mount the handle on the 2 screws that are holding the top on. I would probably mount the handle there, then put some bigger screws on there and just have a little handle on the back. Also, the powder coat is clean, has a nice feel to it. It covers everything. And this is not a gripe for me, but I know some of you guys out there are ridiculous. You're almost psychotic about these things. So for those of you out there that are psychotic about minor details, on the inside the powder coat kind of stops, and in some areas it's kind of covering things but not really covering things. All of that is going to be covered up by the lip of the acrylic side panel window. So just when you put that back on, it's completely clean, but when you take it off, you'll see a couple spots where the powder coating is not full coverage. And like I said, it's a big who cares for me. But some of you guys are psychotic about that, and I wanted to let you guys know that that's the way it is. This is a case that I would definitely use for a high-powered ITX system, maybe even a primary rig. This day and age, you just need to get a good Haswell ITX board, throw it in there. I mean, you can even get socket FM2 ITX and go that route, and still just get a really powerful GPU, 7970, and just have a lot of fun with it. I would probably go Haswell for the power. It's nice and low power. A couple SSDs. Screw the mechanical hard drives, and do a build. Maybe I'll do a build in this. Maybe I'll get the Hydro and do a build in that. I don't know. The other gripe is that it does not have room for a large tower cooler, but you can get a decent sized tower cooler in there. So take that into account. You won't be doing much overclocking, but overclocking on Haswell is kind of whatever anyway. Overclock the GPU and have a lot of fun with that. Just get a good GPU and you'll be good to go. So that's the EVGA Hadron. I know there's a pun in here for Hadron somewhere, like had Ron known about this earlier, he would have purchased one instead of a different case. Hydrogenate, yeah, made with no hydrogenated oils. God, I can't think of the best pun for this. I'm sure all the other publications out there will come up with better puns, but I'm a failure. The front is very sleek. It's almost like a mirrored finish. In fact, you can see yourself. If you need to trim your beard, groom your nose hairs, you can just get right up close to the Hadron. So if you're going to a LAN party and you notice that you missed a spot shaving, just use the front of the Hadron. That's not exactly how they want to market this. Then we've got two 120mm fans. I can't say tons. He's going to attempt to lift 6 kilograms. Oh, he's done it. Oh yes, he's broken the world record for who cares least amount of caring ever. No one cares about this video anymore because he's ruined it. He's going to go home with that knowledge that he's ruined the world. Deep sadness. Where was I?